Following up from speaking to Josh with the launch of his printer the other day, we're going to speak to Andy Galloway, who is one of our players. He's been playing for the club since 2009, when he played for our year 9-10 team back in the day, so a long, long time ago. He's played 439 games for the club and is the leading appearance player, scoring 4,036 points, which puts him third behind Alex and Tom Lee in the scorers charts. So Andy went to Davenham Primary School and then on to Lethwich with Mr. T, and then finally to St John Dean's College for his education, and then on to Bath University. And we're just going to talk through one of the programs that he's working with in his job and a little bit about his Northwich career. So, Andy, welcome to our YouTube channel. How are you?
Thanks, Tom. Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. So, starting with basketball, what made you start playing basketball?
Well, I guess, yeah, you've actually reminded me with that intro what year it was, because I couldn't remember what year it was that I started. But yeah, I guess that was year 8 for me. So like about 12, when I was about 12, it was my brother Will was playing in that 9 and 10 league. He was in year 10 at the time with a kind of core group from Northwich, and they tended to often not have many players or not have enough players to field a team. So I was generally drafted in. I think I'd probably been down to the ball hall like 1 or 2 times to like just come and watch. And then I remember getting drafted in by Will just to say, come in, stand on the court, just to make up to 4 or 5 players. Try not to do anything too stupid. And then yeah, it kind of just built from there really. Like obviously got involved. I remember getting a pair of and 1 basketball shoes from Sports Direct like a few weeks later, and then like yeah, that just being like my thing. Yeah, just carried on playing, got way more involved, and yeah, sort of went into National League and all that kind of thing.
What do you enjoy about playing? What made you want to carry on? Because obviously Will was a fantastic scorer, one of the best scorers in the history of the club. Incredible player. You came on, like you say, you were standing around a lot at the beginning. It took you, I think it took you about 5 games to score your first basket, and you just kept on going. Everyone was massive compared to you. You've shot up since, but yeah, what made you enjoy it?
Yeah, I was a lot smaller back then, and I think there's a few photos to show that in the archive. I think that like I was thinking back to it, like one of the things that was quite good was which is weird to say, but I was the only one who played basketball for my school, and I remember thinking like after then starting playing basketball, there's like a bit of a novelty about being like the only person who plays, because it's sort of more so that it means that you're automatically the best in your school because no one else does it. But yeah, I think like obviously, I mean, there's all the classic things about sport in general, and about basketball specifically, and you know, the Northwich club and ball hall, about just the groups of people you meet and like friends that you make through sport and through putting in a lot of work. I mean, I kind of built like probably from about age 14 upwards into uni, built a lot of like a massive part of my life around basketball. So whether it was making like Friday nights going to the ball hall, like that was my Friday night, and evenings in the week going to Warrington to train, and then spending weekends going to wherever it was, Newcastle or wherever to play. I mean, it's a lot of my time. It was also my parents as well. So shout out to them. But yeah, I mean, for it to be something that you build that much of your life around, it has to be. You need great people alongside with in terms of players and coaches, volunteers, everyone. And yeah, the opportunities you got through that was incredible as well. So I think same as any team sport, the people you're playing with, the competitiveness is what drove me and kind of motivated me, but as well as the people you're there with and the kind of relationships you build and sort of friends you make.
Yeah. Okay. And we'll go into a couple of other bits around it. Who's your favourite teammate when you're playing? You can't say Marcus and Rodney.
I can't say Marcus and Rodney. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I mean, you've clearly put that one in to break up my friendships. I mean, but I can say purely because I spent longer playing with one of those people. I'd have to say my favourite teammate would be Marcus. In
Not
terms
Will.
of it's. Well, I mean, I played a lot with Will, but it wasn't. I didn't play as. I mean, Marcus. I don't know. You probably got the stats on it. You can probably figure it out if you're good enough at Excel. But you could probably figure. I don't know. I imagine I probably played far more games with Marcus than I did with Will. Because we overlapped, but then it was quite. I think with the leagues changing and stuff, a lot of the time we were in different teams, or we probably spent a lot of time playing under 20s together. But yeah, I mean, Marcus is one of my closest friends, and so is Rodney. But in terms of them being a teammate, like Marcus is the person who kind of was with me through all the teams I played with at Ball Hall, and then also in National League as well. We play. I mean, you coached the under 18s when we were both playing up from 16s, and he was there as well. And then we've obviously stayed really good friends throughout as well. But I think in terms of I don't know if either of them would say that I'm their favourite teammate to play with.
I think Rodney would definitely say no. He'd definitely say you shoot a lot too much.
That's probably fair enough. And at the same time, I'm not. And although on top of the appearances, clearly not top of the scoring. So maybe not as efficient as it could be.
Next question around it: who is your toughest matchup to play against? That can be National League or Ball. Actually, do one from National League and one from Ball.
Okay. I mean, it's probably in terms of it'd be both. The answer for both in terms of a teammate I played with in National League and also played against at Ball Hall would be Danny Miller. Just in terms of again, same age group and sort of a similar player from kind of as we went through, like similar kind of skill set, I guess, and the way we played the position. So we were always competing in terms of National League. Obviously, in my final year of National League, we were competing for very similar positions. But then from a much younger age, was a player that was probably ahead of me in terms of like growth spurts and generally, quicker, stronger. Like was kind of had been playing basketball for longer than me. And was a player. So, but that because we were, that same position, we'd always be matching up when we were playing Leopards. Leopards as a team were kind of the team to beat in terms of like when we were playing under 17s and under 20s as well. So we had a lot of really good games. I remember one where we won by like 1 point, and that was like, I remember that's one of the kind of games that's in my kind of memory of being highlights of Ball Hall. I think I actually scored the winning layup in that game, not to blow my own trumpet, but I think it was like a horrible right-handed like finger roll from like, going away from basket to avoid some contact probably. But so no, Danny like, and obviously he went off and went to, in terms of nationally was playing was kind of played majority of minutes at that position, and was then kind of the player that I was sort of motivated to try and go against in training and in games to sort of obviously develop myself and try and get into a position where I was able to take on more minutes in National League. So yeah, it kind of covers both Ball Hall and National League. I can't really think back to National League enough to think about players we played against in other teams, and they're probably less relevant to the Ball Hall Ball Hall viewers. But yeah, that'd be who I'd go with.
Would you say he's the most talented player that you've played with? Who's the most, or who would you say would be the most talented player that you've played with? Yeah,
I mean, in terms of playing very much regularly alongside, I'd probably say so. Obviously played, we played at Ball Hall alongside Josh McSwiggan on for Northwich after he'd played at Wizards. And so in terms of a player that's gone on to do probably the most so far into that would be Josh. I mean, we've played with so many great players through Northwich, Jamal and people like that. So but yeah, in terms of a player that I was regularly against and sort of I guess knew the game of more and was more on like a you'd see week in week out and always be kind of competing and interested in what they were doing and how you could develop. It'd be probably Danny. Yeah.
What's your favourite basketball memory?
I think favourite memory would be going down to Sheffield for Final Fours in when I was we were under 18, so it was the year before I was going to uni, and we'd got, so it was the first season really I played National League where it was like I was playing on a team that was really competing and really challenging for that kind of position. I'd always played previously on the sort of second team of those National League teams, and sort of made that step up in the final year of under-18s to be on a team that had just missed out on Final Fours the year before, and yeah. So in terms of that being like the culmination of that season, we'd got knocked out of the cup in like the final eights, I think, against Nasser in London, and we won the league, the North Premier, and had a really good run to the playoffs, through the playoffs, and got to Final Fours quite comfortably. And we'd beaten Manchester Magic once in the league, and they'd beaten us once. So we kind of went through the semi-final on that day of Final Fours. If people don't know, it's like, obviously, I can't remember. I don't even know because I've not been again. I can't remember how it all works, but it was like a day where they had the Final Fours, all the junior Final Fours over a weekend. So we went down on a Saturday, played a semi-final against Southampton. I think we played, and beat them quite comfortably. And then
you had a good game in that, didn't you?
Yeah, I think again, like that's probably one of the reasons it was a highlight as well, because I probably went through the season being like starting off very much like a 11th, 12th man, like not being someone who got loads of minutes. I think I had a very good first game, but it was and then of the season, and then and probably more due to, I think, people getting injured and me having more responsibility. But then through that season, had sort of didn't have started off on quite a like low number of minutes, probably less than 10 minutes of game, and not being like a massively impactful player. But then sort of going through that season, working harder, managed to get more minutes, and got to the point where I was in Final Fours. I think both of the games in the Final Fours, the semi-final and the final, played probably 20, 25 minutes in each game, and yeah, so we won that semi-final, and you have like a 3-hour wait to play again, a full game again. It seems pretty crazy, but yeah. Then we played Manchester Magic, and it was probably the other way around in terms of that game. Like, we'd gone into it having beaten them once and lost once, but they had a really, really strong team. Most of their starting five was playing men's Div 1 at the same time, and I think four of the starting five ended up going to America on D1 scholarships, and are doing all kinds of things as a career now in terms of basketball. So it wasn't in any way it was a disappointment, obviously, to go away without winning that, but it was such a great experience to have, considering obviously like it kind of was a culmination of that sort of 3-4 years of National League, where I started off on teams that weren't doing so well. Like my first team the year in National League, we didn't win a game. We lost by an average of like 30 points, and we were traveling to Newcastle and all these places to do that. But yeah, it was the kind of culmination of all of that work, and with a great team that I really enjoyed playing with. So yeah, that'd be my highlight.
Yeah, that's good. And I think you touched on a couple of things there that I'm going to go off the questions that I gave you here, because I think one of the things you showed in your career of basketball is the ability to keep working hard and to deal with setbacks, and approach them in a positive manner and have positive things. I remember driving you around with you when your knees were having issues, and you're having all sorts of like physical issues, and you got through it and pushed on to achieve. And again, there's another thing that I haven't mentioned in terms of what I was going to say. One of the examples I always use when I'm speaking to the kids at college around academics is I remember that you had some terrible mock results in your last year of A-levels, and you really wanted to go to Bath, didn't you, and go on to that bit. But the fact that you then actually knuckled down, you worked hard, you balanced like wanting to being successful off the court, like you were with the National League, with the Wire at that time, with being successful academically. So just have a talk about balancing that, because I do always, I don't ever say your name, but I try and disguise it to the kids, and just so this is what you can do if you show that mentality and that positive approach to things.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think like I've kind of I've forgotten the first thing you said, so I'll touch on the second bit, and then you can remind me what I've forgotten. In terms of like the academic stuff, I think that's that was always like the important thing to me. It was always like I knew I wasn't, even though there was that kind of upward trajectory of getting better every year and playing on better teams and having a bigger role, and even throughout that last year, it was never a thought on my mind that I'd end up going and play and making a decision purely based on basketball as to what I was going to do next. It was never something I looked at. I know a lot of players kind of in that team and around me at that time did, and that was the right decision for them. But I don't feel that wasn't going to be something that I just started looking at. I was, in terms of for context, like I'd done my A levels at John Dean's and was looking at what to do. My brother was at Bath and he'd gone there to do maths. I was looking at doing either kind of human biology type course or sports science, and I ended up going for sports science, which I wanted. It was kind of choosing between Bath and Birmingham when I was making those decisions, and I remember, and it was kind of, if anything, like not that it was anything that was on my mind after I decided to go, but with Bath and my brother being there, it was, if anything, like a reason not to go, because I didn't want it to look like I was purely following my brother to uni. But at the same time, I was still wanting to make that decision based on what I wanted to do and based on the course and the uni and everything like that. So it was between those two places, and I ended up picking Bath. Actually, even though they were both the two best academic options for me, the thing that tipped it was the basketball. So it was like, although basketball wasn't the main thing I made a decision on when I was doing that, it was the thing that tipped the scales in one direction. Because Bath were at that point we were playing in the Prem of Bucks, and there was a lot of good stuff on offer there. And as well as the fact I had my brother there to give me an insight into what basketball was like there. Obviously, that was then a big driver. I think Birmingham are now doing like really, really well. So maybe they're happy I didn't make that decision. And what was the first bit?
Just about dealing with disappointing results and showing that resilience to then target set in the future. Yeah,
I think I mean, we've already touched on how I was a tiny player when I started playing, and obviously the first thing you generally want to be able to do when you're playing basketball is try and like touch the rim and dunk and stuff. And I was nowhere near that for a good chunk of of my junior time playing basketball. Some would say
never been anywhere near that.
No, maybe most people would say I'd never got there at all. I guess the thing the only probably thing I regret from basketball when I was much younger was, and not that I didn't at all, but like I think, and people talk about it, but like taking care of your body in terms of being in the right, I think at that age it's less about worrying too much about load, at least for me, like worrying too much about load and the amount you're training, but more about being smart with it. So not turning up, getting out of the car and immediately going and trying to dunk in a warm up, because all that stuff, like you don't realize it at the time because you're not doing like acute damage, you're not hurting yourself in that one movement. But at the time when I was growing a lot, because it was from 16, 17, 18 when I was really growing and absolutely shot up in sort of second year of college, it was at that point where you're at more of a danger for that. So little bits of overuse where you're just putting too much impact through your body. That's something I probably would say if I was doing it again, then I would think more carefully about it. But at the same time, I wasn't in a position to sort of know about that. And had kind of throughout that mainly that college years, so 17, 18, and sort of first couple of years of uni, had issues with my knees. Luckily, nothing massively acute. So nothing that where I didn't break anything, I didn't rupture anything or anything like that. It was much more just overuse injuries where both knees at various times, would really hurt getting out of the chair, and sort of just doing daily activities, and had to see physios and doctors and things like that. I remember at one point, first year of uni, during that year, was really having problems. I went to the doctor and got told by a GP that I had an X-ray, and they basically said, yeah, you've got arthritis in your knee, and you'll probably need a knee replacement by the time you're 40. And I remember that being absolutely devastating, and just being like, what am I going to do? and then ended up going to see specialists and things like that, and going through more of the conversations, and then them just being like, that's absolute rubbish, like the guy's told you the complete wrong thing, and which is obviously a massive relief, but that was kind of the thing, that even though that wasn't actually the case at the time, that there was anything massively wrong, it was more just like, I needed to take steps to make it better and rehabilitate my knees and get me to a position where I was stronger. It was still the thing that made me then do that in the future. So not that I'm any kind of shining example about prehab and warm-ups and all that stuff. Like I'll still make bad decisions and run out and try and dunk.
You've got one of the things is you've got the most elaborate warm-up routine when we do the early morning sessions at college for alumni and current players and things. You set the standard for the most elaborate warm-up, don't you, and show Jordan and Dan Beck and the others what they're doing.
Usually just wanting to sort of not get to the running as soon as possible, but lots of if I was to recommend anything, I genuinely like, I mean, it's that's like one of the things that people don't it's not something you generally can get like massive amount of education on until you get to a point where you're at, say, uni or a sort of high level team where there is that education opportunity, I think. But if I was to say one thing, like get like resistance band is the best tool I could have, which just mean in terms of just like getting ready for stuff, which is more so than just like stretching and having a run.
Max Jones is doing a research project around this as part of his university course. I know because he contacted me a while ago, and I need to get back to him at some point. So, Max, if you have watched this, I will be getting back to you at some point. Leading on to from that, the sort of the concepts behind thinking about like the actual thought process behind playing and things. You have done some coaching. You've done coaching down south, and you've done a bit of coaching for us as well at various times. What do you enjoy about coaching? What did you get out of coaching?
I think, I mean, my coaching's been sort of a bit stop-start, and I really enjoy it. I've done a bit, obviously, like I said, I did some down in Bath. I did some coaching with the Surrey Scorchers like foundation, so in the community down there when I was doing my placement year in Surrey, and then obviously with yourselves at Northwich. I think there's a kind of selfish element of it, which maybe I shouldn't start with, but I probably will. There's like of it being a really good way of getting a different perspective on your own game. I think like as much as people tell you, you should stop doing triple clutch layups, or if you've got an open layup, like go in a straight line kind of thing. As much as people say that to you, then it's like if it's not getting into your head, when the sort of moment you're coaching a team and you see someone do it and then you go, mate, you need to just go straight to the basket or not avoid the contact. It's a lot easier to go, oh yeah, okay, I agree with Tom now. So
that's why we're getting video in now, so that people will be able to watch all the games back. They can make their own mind up about things.
I think that's like, and so in sort of a selfish way, in a more obviously selfless way, selfless sense. There's a real like sort of there's something really powerful about. Or really just really good to see when you're working with a player sort of week on week, seeing that development. So seeing like a skill you're working on or a sort of mindset you're trying to embed or something like that. Like seeing that come to fruition through training and into games is I'm sure you're probably the same, but it's really rewarding to see that. One of the things I'd done with Surrey when I was coaching down there, they had a community session that must have been like funded in some way that meant it had to carry on, because there was only one kid who turned up to this session in like kind of the middle of nowhere at this like tiny little gym, and I had to go out like about half an hour drive to go and coach this session with this like one kid who was there. And I think it probably went on for about 8 weeks of that before they did finish it. But he seeing like the confidence build even on a one-on-one, like doing, because you've got so much, it was an hour session, you had like literally a one-to-one session. So seeing that build, like, whether it's certain movements, certain skills, like just getting better at shooting, but then also having those conversations with the player who's gone into school or into their club and sort of worked on that stuff as well, and coming back and saying, oh, actually I did that in that game and it was really good. Like that's always a a kind of rewarding feeling.
Oh, that's good. Okay, and future basketball, you're still quite young, even though you started in 2009. How old are you now?
I'm 24, so turn 25 in May.
Right. So what's your future plans with basketball? It's a bit, obviously it's stop start at the minute. You're up and down all over the place.
Yeah, so I'm in Cheshire, back in Northwich at the moment. Hoping to, my work's based in London, so plan is to go back to London when it's possible, when I get a flat, and I'm with a team down there. So with a team called Houston Power down there. So it's a great group of guys playing in the London League. So people I know from uni, and then sort of new people I met down there. So yeah, hoping to get back to that as soon as we can. Obviously, fingers crossed for the sort of timelines being favourable from this point. We can all get back on the court, and I'd really like to play. I would like to play National League again as well. Like would want to. I started last season. I think forgetting what year it is now. So the start of the 2019-20 season, I was in London, and I was playing. I'd sort of done pre-season with London West Side in D2. And but was at the same time, my work was only 3 days a week, so I was sort of between Northwich and London, sort of staying just in the week and then coming back at the weekends and stuff. So it was pretty disjointed. And I played one game down there, and that was a really good team. Then they did really well as well in that season. But I played one game down there and came to the point where I was like, actually, it's just too much right now. So I was doing 3 days a week of work in the week, and then like Tuesday to Thursday, and then Tuesday and Thursday both traveling an hour plus to go to training, and yeah, it was just too much. So hopefully I can get back to that in some way as well. Can try and combine, both the local and National League, but also managing the load on my knees.
All right. Now, the reason for having this chat is around your work. So obviously, I mentioned you in the season reviews that you did give loads of really good feedback around looking at our development plan and things and some of the thoughts and ideas around it. And one of the big things that I've said to you is that I'm always really happy about in terms of players is the sense of compassion, the sense of like giving back amongst the community of players. So like you said, you were the only one at Lethwich, but then there was Darwin that started at Lethwich, and Chris, and then going to your brother and Jan, and then to yourself, and then to Joe and Jack, and through to Dan Beck, and then we've got more guys coming on. And a lot of those guys are Nathan Galloway, and they've all come and helped coach and helped give back to people within the club. And one of the things we were looking to build on is how we can build that more robustly into the club. And I thought what you're doing at the moment around the Empathy Week initiative was quite interesting and something that would be quite useful for people to get involved with and to watch some of the webinars. But tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, so I should say I have a job. I should also say firstly that obviously there was definitely all the people at Lethwich who played basketball.
We're all a couple of years away from you. So.
Entire school, but it was more my year. No, definitely. But yeah, in terms of work, I work at a company in London, doing work that's very similar to this and helping organisations do work in that way. And at the same time, sort of with a friend from uni who was a teacher and then left and set up his own business. I do I do help with this Empathy Week project, which is we've been running for nearly 2 years now, so it's in its second year. And Empathy Week is actually this week, as we're filming this. It's a sort of schools-based program. It's completely global. Last year we were in 48 countries, I think. I haven't got the figures for this year, but essentially it's this program that schools can sign up to, and we essentially provide a week's worth of lesson resources and films. So for teachers to use in their schools and in their classes. The films are all based around a certain story. So one person. Last year the films were all based around Ed, who's the sort of founder of Empathy Week. He spent 3 months living in India with a charity called Slum Soccer, and had made loads of connections there and was filming stories from the people there. And then this year, all the stories are built based around people around London who have various different kind of life experiences. So there's an international DJ, there's a video blogger, there's sort of mental health advocate, and yeah, there's a refugee who came here from Iran. And is now setting up a restaurant in Ealing, and also a mentor. So I'll cover the five. So all the films are based around these five people, and then all the lesson resources for teachers are based around that as well. So it's about kind of pulling out and exploring the learnings and the themes in those stories, but then pulling out kind of learnings from them. And the idea is that after the 5 days of lessons, we sort of students are in a position where they can take those learnings into their own project and into their own lives. So the idea is that we encourage students to start an empathy action project, which is about kind of identifying a problem in the world that you see, kind of using empathy, so using the lessons from the lessons you've learned from that week to sort of step into the shoes of the people who might be experiencing that problem, and then figure out a solution that you can kind of come up with and try and maybe test in the real world. And then we run like a sort of competition to where people could submit their ideas and their projects. Empathy is all about kind of understanding another person's perspective. So it kind of, definitely links into sport and into coaching and things like that, but also into the world of business and kind of every aspect of life that we go into after school. So we think it's really important to develop, and it's definitely developed in other ways, but this hopefully is a good way, an interesting way, engaging way of doing it in school.
Yeah, like you said with coaching, being self-reflective around things, understanding what you're trying to develop and how you develop. It's the same in building any skill, isn't it? So there's some webinars, isn't there, you've said, that are coming up as well. If people's schools aren't part of Empathy Week, what are they?
Yeah, so Empathy Week is this week, like I said. Schools can still sign up and use the resources in the following weeks. But for any students or young people that are watching this now, we're running webinars from the 1st to the 5th of March, so Monday to Friday next week. There's 3 times each day when they're on. And we will also be recording them and putting them out afterwards as well. But yeah, we're running these webinars with kind of different supporters of Empathy Week. So they're people who've kind of supported us in the movement, and then they're basically giving talks about lots of different things, but all kind of relating empathy back to their own work. So we've got CEOs, athletes, again, bloggers, someone who was in the films from last year is coming back to do a talk. And there's 14 different talks that people can join. They're all free, aimed at students from 13 years of age and older. And yeah, the kind of themes are all linked back to empathy and how it's used in various aspects of life, but also kind of all linking back to things like careers, leadership, business, citizenship, different skills that are kind of important across all aspects of life. Excellent.
Right, good. And anything else you'd like to add before we finish?
No, I think that's that. We've covered everything, and I've enjoyed it. It's been good to kind of think back to some of the big, earlier years, as you mentioned. It's been quite a while, so no, it's been.
You're still only a baby, still on you, so you're right. A lot of time ahead.
Yeah, pretty much. So yeah,
it made me feel very old when I thought back to 2009 when you started. I think it was about 2 years before that when the club started, when I was still in my 20s and very optimistic about the world. And we're still continuing in that mindset.
Exactly, definitely. So yeah, and I think that's another thing that's probably like relevant to the kind of the Empathy Week ethos, the program we're putting together, and the webinars next week. There's so much of the, I guess you mentioned about being optimistic about the world. Like there's a lot of reason to be optimistic. I think, and I think that when you start with empathy, which is about understanding other perspectives, then you're always starting in a good place. So whether that's coaching, whether that's playing, or whether that's the next steps in your life, there's a lot to take from it. So would just encourage everyone to kind of sign up. I'm sure Tom will put links in the description of the video.
Yeah, if you send something over, then we organise jump on.
And we can get people signed up. And obviously, if anyone does want to chat about any of this stuff or anything we talked about in the video, please do please do get in touch with Tom, or find a way to contact me. I'll be around. As much as Tom said, I'm only here to actually talk about Empathy Week. There's hopefully been some useful stuff that's basketball related as well.
And we'll probably get you back in the basketball as well at some point when you're still around. It might do another college camp over summer if COVID allows, and see if you can guest coach at that again, because I think you did a pretty good job and people enjoyed that last time. All right.
Thanks a lot. Cool. Look forward to it.
Thank you very much.
All right. Cheers, Tom.